Hey everyone, it's preparedamerican.com. Today we're doing a review of the Biolite camp stove. Now the thing that makes this camp stove kind of unique and different from everything else out there on the market is that this one uses wood, fuel, or any other combustible matter such as pine cones or any kind of scraps, leaves, anything like that that's going to burn. Converts that heat energy into electricity that will then power a fan and feed oxygen into the fuel so that it gasifies and burns at a higher rate. So the stove comes in a little carry bag like this. The inside of it pops out and then the legs open up, and the fan and the thermal sensor are going to hook right onto the back here and then lock into place with the leg. And that's what the camp stove looks like set up. Biolite recommends prior to using the stove for the first time that you use their included USB plug and plug it into a computer or a wall outlet using like an iPhone adapter or something like that to get the initial charge going on the battery. That way when you're out in the field you have a little charge, it's going to start up right away, you won't have that issue. So the stove comes with some fire starting material from the manufacturer, but what we're going to do today is just use a little bit of lint from the dryer, from the lint trap, and drop a stormproof match in there, and then I'll start feeding it with some wood so you can see the effects of how this thing generates heat. And when it does start to burn, you're going to see the flame come out of the top, and it's actually hitting that thermal sensor right there and converting that heat into electricity that's then stored into the battery pack. And the neat thing about that is it'll start the fan and start to gasify the fire in there, and then any extra leftover electricity is going to feed into the battery pack to load it up and store it. Once that's done, you'll see the bottom bar is going to turn green, and from that point you can feed any type of USB powered device into there to charge it up. So here we go. And we just turn it on. The nice thing about this stove too is that yes, it does work really well with dry wood, but even if you're out in the field and all you can find is wet wood, that oxygen that's being injected into there really does a great job of burning wet wood as well. It's going pretty good now. So now you're able to see a visible flame coming out of the top. The wood inside is burning pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and turn the fan up to high. Now we're really pumping oxygen into that burning chamber so that we can get things going. I've got an MSR Seagull stowable pot here. I've already got some water in it so that you guys can see how this works. And the base of the stove is built into it, so you just set your pot right on top. Now my experience in the field with this, I've taken it out several times now, and my experience is that boiling a pot of water like this usually takes for me about 6 to 8 minutes, depending upon the dryness of the wood, the temperature of the stove, temperature of the air, everything else, temperature of the water. We can already see we're starting to get just a few minor bubbles at the early stage of heating this water up, and it's starting to steam on the top. So I'm going to put the lid back on, and I've got the timer going, and we're going to measure the amount of time that it takes to boil this water. and then we'll come back and we'll show you some of the other features of the stove. Alright, so while we're still boiling some water here, you'll notice that the green light came on down on the bottom of the Biolite stove pack, showing that the battery is now sufficiently charged and we're able to run USB powered items off of there. So one of the things that I keep with me in the field is a Goal Zero Guide 10 Plus battery pack. I can use this thing to charge my iPhone. I've pretty much switched over to everything being standardized as using AA batteries, such as a Phoenix LD10 AA battery flashlight, or a Phoenix headlamp that just uses one AA flashlight. Kind of nice so that we can just use this to power those devices. Or at night, if I can't use the solar panel to charge this, I can use the Biolite stove. So I'm just going to show you how that works. You're just going to simply plug into the input power section on the device and then plug in your USB device. And you'll notice that we're up and running as far as charging goes. And we're boiling water now at 4.5 minutes. So that's pretty good for today. So I'm going to take this off, and we're going to show you some of the other nice benefits of this stove. Like I mentioned before, one of the nice things is if you're cooking at night and you need a workspace for your food and everything, if you want to stay away from using the AA battery in your headlamp, you can just use the battery power coming off of the Biolite stove. This is a Goal Zero LED light stick. So I can plug in and you can see the LED lights are running now. And this thing's surprisingly pretty bright at night. Better output than such as like the single LED off an iPhone or something. And this is nice because I can have an area where I'm prepping my food, cutting stuff, doing whatever, and I've got pretty good area light that other people can use as well for their prepping their food. And of course we can also plug an iPhone in. So this is kind of nice for you techno geeks such as myself that are out in the field and want to keep an iPhone charged up. And you see that we're charging now. One of the really nice benefits of this Biolite stove is recently I was out and we had a really hard time getting a good fire going because a lot of the wood around us was too wet. With a Biolite stove, injecting that oxygen in there, we can stick a big piece of wood in here and let it burn down for a while, and you have a heat source. If you can't get a regular campfire going, at least you have some sort of a heat source that you can huddle around and talk with your buddies or whatnot, plan your adventure and how you're going to pack out the next day, whatever it is that you want to do. So overall, it's kind of a nice little device to be able to stay warm, burn wet wood, charge up some of those necessities that you need, and really it's the key concept to this stove is that you can get wood and fuel for it anywhere you go. I don't have to worry about packing liquid fuels with me or propane or anything like that, and I'll have that fuel anywhere that I go to heat water up, sanitize it, purify it, whatever I want to do. The drawbacks. The drawbacks of the Biolite stove are the size. The size and the weight of this stove. For you hardcore guys, and I tend to be in this category at times that like to keep my weight really down in my pack, this is not going to be the ticket for you. This is a 2-pound stove. Yep, you heard me right, 2 pounds. This is a 2-pound stove that weighs a lot when you start stuffing it into your backpack, and it takes up quite a bit of space, as you can tell. The advantage being that you wouldn't have to carry any fuel with you as well, but I think everybody out there knows that with the liquid fuels or penny stoves or any of those types of things that are out there using denatured alcohol or anything else, you can get a several days burn out of a very little amount of fuel. So for short backpacking trips where you want to keep the weight down, the Biolite stove is probably not the thing for you. What I really like this for is either longer treks where I don't have to plan on taking fuel with me and we can divide up some weight amongst other people, or car camping where I've got something for the family that I can burn around, or just as an emergency backup stove at the house where I can go out into the field and grab some wood and heat some water up if we need to. So limitations to the stove being the weight and the size, but there's a lot of other nice benefits to this thing that'll keep you going and keep devices charged up in the field. Thanks for checking out our review of the Biolite camp stove. We hope that this review has been educational for you and given you some thought as to whether or not this type of stove would fit into your kit. We hope that whether you're out backpacking or your planning is for emergency preparedness, that this review has been able to help you in making that decision. Thanks a lot for visiting apreparedamerican.com.